The subject that I'm starting with is how to raise children the way you want them, otherwise known as love is almost enough. And I'm also open to any other subject in the afternoon. And anytime you have questions, please go like this. And I understand somebody has these things that they trot to you. Who's got them? Okay. So that's the easiest way, unless you happen to be a person who talks real loud, and then just yell out your question. And please come in anytime. So, starting with the idea that love is almost enough, then we get into all of the ridiculous contaminations around what love means. And I thought I'd bring up some of those in the beginning, because in lots of families, without their even knowing it, the definition of love is one of the huge problems. So I'll start with some of the problems. Love and feeling some kind of pain or unhappiness is often put together. I was working in Sydney with a person whose father is a psychiatrist, and she believes, and then quoted father, that if you don't feel guilty, you don't love enough. So in that family, love and guilt go together. The more you love, the more you're guilty about what you didn't do in the past, and this gets all mixed up. I remember a guy in a workshop who separated love and pain during the workshop. In his family, the way they loved each other was to stroke each other for their pains, physical and psychological, cry together over what went wrong, if somebody didn't get invited to a prom, if somebody didn't get the main part, if somebody lost in a race. Incidentally, by the way, the message with all this is don't be a winner, because if you're a winner, there's nothing to love you for. So the whole family was very sensitive to each other's hurts. And so he worked very, very well getting himself to separate that love and hurt don't have to go together. And I think that was somewhere around December. On Valentine's Day, he got a card from his mother, which he sent us to prove the point. And it was Bugs Bunny with a Band-Aid across the tummy, and it said, "I love you so much it hurts." So I'm suggesting that each family look at how their stroking patterns, and I'll get into that more later, in terms of how love is supposed to be tied up with something else, like love and hurt, love and pain. Love and worry is a great one. That's how mothers try to dominate their daughters and get them home on time. I'm sure you've all had that. I didn't sleep a wink worrying about you. If I didn't worry, I wouldn't love you. And people actually believe that. They believe that it's not possible to feel good and still love. That they have to demonstrate it by feeling bad. So look at which it is: love and worry, love and guilt, love and unhappiness. And usually each family has one of these myths. They come down, it's one of the family myths that come down generation after generation. And it's very easy, once a person recognizes it, to get rid of it. Another myth is what Virginia Satir calls love and garbage. And that came from her story. Mother asked the little boy to empty the garbage, and he says he doesn't want to. And she says, "Then you don't love me." And from then on, love and garbage are mixed in his head. That means if you love, you have to do things even if you don't want to do them, even if they make no sense to you. Like, if you love me, you take out the garbage. If you love me, you don't marry so-and-so. If you love me, you get good grades in school. All the strings attached to love that eventually make love not worth having. Yeah. So, separating out that too, the obligations, so that you can love and not be obligated. This is a very fast summary, as you may have noticed. Then there's Opposite, which is love and non-commitment, which was terribly, terribly popular in the United States in the 60s and part of the 70s. That's the Fritz Perls, I do my thing, you do your thing. If by chance we meet, it's beautiful, and in between is, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations. Well, that's the opposite of the love and all these strings attached. There was kind of a natural reaction with the hippies, the flower children, and then lots of other people. The strings attached were so onerous that then they went into the love is non-commitment, which meant though I love you, I don't have to do anything for you. I can have affairs. I can do what's best for me, and if you don't like it, that's your problem. And TA fed into that, or was influenced by it. And so we say nobody makes you feel, and the people who are involved in this love is not commitment then go home and say, by the way, you might want to know I have a lover, and if you feel bad, that's your sweat, which is the non-commitment aspect. So I'm talking about something in between that. One is the strings that you don't love me if you won't do what I say, and the other is the actual wanting to do for the others, which is, I see as the only way that people can really stay enjoying each other is that they balance the I don't have to, I'm not being, I won't let myself be blackmailed, and I want to. Then there's, I put down narcissism, and I'm forgetting the man's name. There's a German psychoanalyst now who's written a lot of some hefty articles, maybe hefty in German, certainly hefty in English, and I'll get his name if anyone wants it during the noon hour, who's exploring re-exploring the whole concept of narcissism. Freud always did doubt self-love, and he saw it as something suspect. And this man is suggesting that self-love is a good thing, and that the failures in early love of self are what lead to all kinds of other failures, which he calls secondary narcissism. Primary narcissism is the loving of self, which is good, which is the baby's delight in self and mother before the baby has been distinguishes which is which very much. The real joy in self. And of course, this is a reflective joy, because children don't love themselves if they're not loved. If they're loved, if they feel good about themselves, then this is what this man calls primary narcissism, which is a very good thing. It means that the person can love in return and can love self. And we've been saying that a lot in TA in terms of I'm okay, you're okay. Is that you? His suggestion then is the failure of primary narcissism is one of the essential problems, and what happens then is one of three things. The person becomes grandiose and says, I'm okay if I'm the best. So the person has to keep redefining others and keep striving with all his energy in order to be the best, in order to be lovable. And that's a difficult and distorting task, of course. And that's what he says comes from the secondary narcissism, which is I really know I'm no good, therefore. And that's very, very, very close to what we call the I'm okay, you're not okay position, with the person really feeling I'm so not okay that I couldn't stand it. Therefore, I've got to prove I'm more okay than anybody else to be okay. The other two positions that this man believes comes from a failure of self-love, which I also think are tremendously important, are the mirror image love, which means I'll marry somebody who's just like me, and as long as that person is seen as lovable, I'm lovable. When Liz Taylor married that hotel man, I've forgotten which hotel, Hilton, I think. Yeah, when she was young, I remember it was in the paper that she said, we're exactly alike. We both love peanut butter and babies. And at that point, it was fairly clear this wasn't going to be a really first-rate marriage. Huh? She seems to have a somewhat more honest marriage now. I don't know if it was in the Australian papers when she got drunk at the dinner party for Southern senators, and they were talking against the ERA, which is the Equal Rights Amendment, and she got up fairly drunk and told them all that they were dinosaurs and idiots, and her husband tried to shut her up, and she said, "And you're the worst." She did a magnificent job for ERA. It's the first time I really liked the woman. And then her husband started giving his speech talking about Lincoln, the party of Abraham Lincoln, and she said, "Isn't it interesting the Republicans have nothing good to say about the present or future? The only time they were any good was 100 years ago." Anyway, it was fun. The narcissistic position that he's talking about, though, is that everything has got to be perfect, and this has got to be a reflection of self. She's got to be just like me, i.e. lovable. The third one is, I'm not lovable, but my family is, my party is, my country is. I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan, and therefore I'm lovable. I'm okay. Which the man, which of course can have terrible repercussions in terms of wanting to wage war, belonging to far-out cults, etc. His suggestion is that if any of these go wrong, and they're bound to, the person is going to have to struggle even harder, and then can end up either murderously angry or self-murderously depressed. And I'm bringing this up because this is the distorted kind of love, which is, I love you because you're just like me, or I love me because I'm the best. And that is not loving it. Yeah?
Can you tell me, when you said they're bound to go wrong, can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Bound to go wrong because it's a shaky premise. If a person loves self and loves others and honors self, then all the little things that go wrong along the way don't hit at the roots of the person's being. Like if he loses a job, he can mourn, or if she loses a job, she can mourn, but it isn't going to crash in as if I've never been any good. Whereas all those same little things that go wrong in the other primary narcissism kinds of relationships or pseudo-self-love, everything is a test. If, say, a woman loves because her husband is like her and is adulated somewhere, the minute he does something that doesn't fit the image, she's going to work terribly hard to get him back in the image, be very depressed or angry. I married you and you were a doctor, and here you are not turning out to be all that great a doctor, whatever. And the same way with if something goes wrong in the well, Jonestown is such an extreme example, I hate to use it, but people sure didn't use their own brains there. When Reverend Jones got crazy, and he really wasn't seemingly crazy in the beginning, and he had a huge following, and was a very liberal man who believed in races together, believed in a kind of communal putting together of assets and all living equally, believed love was the answer. As he seemed to turn from that, and there were the brutality around to adolescence was one of the early signs something was cracking up in the organization. The public spankings of adolescents, then of adults. As this kind of stuff surfaced, the followers had to work even harder to prove he was right, rather than to get out. Whereas the healthy ones, who loved and respected themselves, probably got out. He was left with a small group when they went down to South America, compared to what he had in the Bay Area. So that's one of the things that I mean by it's bound to go wrong. People don't have the resilience to make things right. If you stake your life on things being da 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 da, then there's no resilience left.